Hey everybody, Ironhead Josh here with Toby today. We are going to do a nice little video here for you. We are going to give you the rundown of a full service from start to finish. So here we go. I guess we'll just go ahead and get started and let you check it out. One of the first things I do when I put the bike on the lift is go around and give a quick check of make sure all the lights and everything, switches are working properly. Let the bike warm up for just a little bit so we can let the oil circulate around before we drain it. And I'll start taking the bags off and getting everything out of the way so we can get to some stuff and we don't scratch anything. One of the things you'll see me do here that maybe not a lot of people do, and it's not really something required, but after I tighten my drain plugs to make sure they're tight, I always mark them with a little bit of paint. That way I know that they're tight, and it's kind of a safety issue for the customer too. If the drain plug should ever come loose or should somebody tamper with the drain plug, it's kind of, you know, covering my butt too. So just something I like to do. Not everybody does it, but hey, you got to be different. Stay on top of the game. So now that we got all our fluids dropped and drain plugs back in, tightened down, we'll go ahead and we'll start adding the fluids back in the bike, and we'll move on to checking critical fasteners, tire pressure, inspecting everything, etc. Things that I've found that I like to do is with the derby cover screws. A lot of people put Loctite on these, and it's really not the best method in the world. What I like to do is use a little AntiSeize. Reason is this is an aluminum primary cover, this is a steel bolt, and those two together combinations can make things kind of crusty in there and seize. And I've replaced a lot of these primary covers because people have put Loctite on here, and when the screws came out it stripped the threads, as well as over tightening can be a thing. So another thing I like to do here is use a torque wrench and actually torque these down to just 100 inch-pounds, which isn't very heavy. So this is what I do here. Just a dab of Loctite, just a little bit. It's one of this, or I'm sorry, just a dab of AntiSeize, not Loctite. It's one of those things that people like to just smear all over the place and get a whole lot on there, but you really don't need much. Little goes a long way. Plus it's messy. It'll look like the Tin Man if you use too much of it. Brand new fresh O-ring. What I'll do, I'll just take my gun and just run them in real light. like I said, I like to use my torque wrench right here. This kind of ensures that they don't get over tightened. Set to 100 inch-pounds. That's that. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and we're going to move on, and I'm going to start checking critical fasteners. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check nearly every nut and bolt on the motorcycle to make sure everything's tight. Now this bike only has 5,000 miles on it. There's probably not a whole lot that has come loose. As you get further up the mileage line, you do start to see things that do come loose now and again. And every once in a while I will find something loose here and there on a 5K service. But you follow me along here and we'll show you everything that we touch as we go along down and check the critical fasteners. So one of the cool things Harley's done for us over the years is given us washable air filters. So you really don't have to replace these a whole lot. Washing them is a really good thing. You can see this one's getting kind of dirty. It's not the dirtiest, but we're gonna wash it anyways since it's in here. So we'll go over to wash bay, clean this out with some air filter cleaner, wash it out and let it dry out and pick it back up in a few minutes. So I notice here that this tender lead's just kind of hanging out here loose. Makes it easy to fall out. What I like to do for you guys when you come in is I'll run this back out and I'll zip tie it right here behind the passenger floorboard so it's easier for you guys to get to and you don't have to reach down and fumble around with it when you're at home and you want to plug your bike into your battery tender. We've talked about in the past, and we've done videos about the belt deflection and how important it is to keep these tight. And you can see my gauge here has a little O-ring, and that little notch represents 10 pounds of force. And depending on how far that moves, when it reaches 10 pounds of force at the O-ring, is how far your belt deflection is. And this one's just about at a 1/2 inch, which is way too loose. So we're going to go ahead and set the belt deflection properly to a 1/4 inch and continue moving on. As you notice, I washed the air filter from the inside out. That way all the dirt and debris gets pushed outwards. Another thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this blow dryer here to help blow anything that's left stuck in there and also blow everything outwards. You don't wanna use compressed air. A high volume of compressed air will blow this filter media right out of there. So what you wanna do is use something that doesn't have a really powerful stream, like powerful condensed stream, but something that's, you know, high flow, like a blow dryer or a fan. Was I blew it kind of across the top here. I didn't blow it directly in, but sometimes bugs and debris will kind of like to get stuck between the pleats here, and just kind of blowing it across will help whoosh those out of there so they're not stuck in there in the long run. So now we'll go back over there now that this is all dry and put this back on our bike and continue with our service. Here's another one of those spots where I like to use AntiSeize again. You see in here where a filter mounts in, those are brass fittings. Again, two different types of metal like to cause corrosion together and will eventually, you know, stick kind of like Loctite will, and those brass inserts will pull themselves out if they're locked in there. So AntiSeize is, again, your friend here on something like this. And just a little bit goes a long way. We just found, or I've discovered, is the little ball, check ball here that helps hold the passenger floorboard down is missing. So we'll go ahead and give a customer a call, let them know that that's an issue we found, and we'll probably go ahead and repair that for them pretty easily. No big deal, but just one of the things you want to look out for, the little things when you're servicing your motorcycle. That way it just doesn't flap around going down the road. About the fuel door not working, so we'll get that fixed too. So now that we've ran down through, we've checked our critical fasteners, we've lubricated all the moving parts, the hinges and everything that are on the bike so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the digital tech over. I'm going to hook the bike up to the computer to check, make sure that Harley hasn't given any module calibration updates, such as ECM updates or radio updates. If they have, we're going to update those now. We're going to run the bike on the computer and do a motorcycle condition report. And I'm also going to fill out the motorcycle condition report to let you, the customer, know what I've done to your motorcycle, what I've set your tire pressure at, what critical fasteners I've checked, and everything I've done along the way. Now that we've got the bike hooked up to the digital technician, this goes down and let me know if there's any trouble codes or historic codes, which there was some historic codes. They don't really mean a whole lot when they're historic, so we'll just go ahead and clear all those. If they come back, we know that there was a problem. Module calibrations. So the radio is here and ready for an update, so we'll do that in just a few minutes. You can't do that on the digital tech. We'll check to see if the bike has been involved in any recalls or safety campaigns. Has been involved in none. So now that I know that there needs to be an update made, I'm going to go ahead and shut the bike back off for just a second. I'll go grab the radio update stick, we'll update the radio, and then we'll continue on running our motorcycle condition report. And after we do that, we'll check our fluid levels, put saddlebags on, take it for a test ride. Another kind of a lengthy process, doesn't take too long, and we're going to run down and do a motorcycle condition report. What's going to happen here is we're going to let the bike sit here and idle, warm up to operating temperature, and the computer is going to read all the sensors, everything what's going on, the charging system data, make sure it's charging right, fuel injector time, RPM, everything that's electronic on the bike is going to be read. Once that's all done, I'll type some notes in there, give a printout, stick it in the customer's saddlebag so they have that printout. And we're just about done with that point and on for the test ride. So one of the things that I'm going to do before I do go on a test ride is, I got a little hasty when I said we're going to go for a test ride after this, is we're going to get a new check ball and spring for the passenger floorboard up there, and we're going to get a spring for the fuel hinge door, so we get those taken care of as well. I'll type my notes out here, then I'll run up to the parts department, get those things, and after we fix those, we'll go on a test ride. Got our motorcycle condition report completed. Now we're going to walk up to the parts department real quick, get ourselves a check ball and a spring, fix that floppy floorboard, get ourselves a spring, an opening spring for the fuel door, and then we'll get this thing out on the road, go for a test ride, which we all know is the best part of the job. So. So we got our check ball replaced here. Turns out all we needed was the ball. Spring was still in there. The spring for the fuel door we had to order, so we'll just wait on that. But for now, we can go ahead and we're going to take this puppy on a test ride. Best part of my day. Very last thing I do before I go on a test ride is always check my oil level. And you can see here that we have full hot on Jiffy stand, full hot vehicle upright. We're about halfway on the full on Jiffy stand, and that's about where you want to be. If you get up here to the full mark with your oil level, that's when you start to see the oil dripping out of your air cleaner, which I'm sure a lot of you have experienced out there. Keeping it about halfway up the full mark is the best way to avoid getting that, and it's not going to hurt anything. You're only talking about maybe a quarter of a quart there, and out of 4 quarts, a quarter of a quart really ain't going to hurt much. So it's okay if you're right there in the halfway mark. It's really a good place to be. Final check was A-OK, so dipstick back in, let the wash bay guys do their thing here and wipe my little greasy fingerprints off everything, and there you have it. That was a full service by Ironhead Josh here at Harley-Davidson of Fort Wayne.